Vaughan, isn't politics getting exciting? This week is a big week. We've got National with the big drama that's been going on for days now. But now we've got Labour also in a lot of trouble because evidently there's something going on the side which we don't know about.
Oh, gee, that great big B word, right? Bullying. So, okay, this week it was all about the disaster that is Sam Uffindell. And look, he's toast pending the outcome of the 2-week investigation, which is Maria Dew, QC, sharp as a tack, so she's absolutely going to do the right thing there. And as much as we are probably sick of hearing about this, it's not peaked yet because, the findings of the investigation will bring the spotlight back onto National, but it's not clean sheets over at Labour either. So what I think the good news here is, forever will this change the vetting process for candidates in the National Party?
Do you know one thing that's upsetting me, though? This is big news about Labour having some problems, and yet the media are hardly covering it. But probably because they don't have a lot of facts yet. But there's stuff to be released.
Yep.
So, the dirt is on both sides of the fence, which is kind of good in a way.
Oh, look, the muck flicking at each other, that's no surprises. I think, look, this is actually a good thing, but let's be frank, Max. The National Party has certainly, over the years, produced its fair share of creeps. The Jake Bazants, the Jamie Lee Rosses, the Falloons. The list is long, right, of the weirdos that have come out of that party. So God bless grassroots democracy for kicking in here. The people have spoken, and the National Party will actually be better off for it after this review is done. So to finish on this one, Max, the Nats have got to ride it out for the next 2 weeks. Labour are not off the hook by any stretch of the imagination.
But I think the media are going to give them a free ride, and they are at the moment. So let's wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah, well, my advice is hang in there, Blue Team, because you're going to have to take the crap for 2 weeks. Then you can get back to holding the government to account, which is why you are really there,
Yeah. I do agree. But look, let's give this a miss because I'm sick and tired of talking about the Nats and how terrible they are. Yeah. So let's move on to something else then.
Something that I think we should talk about, Max, and, you being my Pakeha brother, division politics. Right?
Oh, right.
Okay, Max, it saddens me to say that, and I really don't want to say this, the 2023 general elections, I think they will be divisive, right? And, putting it bluntly, bro, it'll be the Pakeha versus the Maori elections. And why I say that is that we often talk about te tiriti and that we are treaty partners, and there's divided views on that, whether we are or not. But here is the thing. Most Pakeha have not read te tiriti, let alone believe in it. The current government has most definitely tried hard to honour te tiriti, but a change in government will see that pendulum swing back the other way, particularly if our friend David Seymour is in there. And so I'm really keen to hear your views on this in terms of what does this mean for us as a society. Do you think it will be Māori versus Pakeha going into
Look, one thing I have to agree with you, Vaughan, but then I'm probably going to disagree on some stuff. But certainly this election is going to be Maori and versus Pakeha.
Yep.
That is the key issues, and that's where National's going to leverage on it.
Yep.
Now, the thing with National is I doubt very much they'll act on it. I think what they'll do is a lot of legislation's being passed in favour of marriedom, in favour of co-ownership, those sort of factors, and I don't think they will back off on it. Why? Because there will be an eruption in the Maori world over this.
Well, that's right. And, we don't want things heading in the wrong direction, and we should stop the rot by now. And what I mean we don't want things heading in the right directions is the early signs of civil unrest. We do not need that. And I think that those are eggs you can't unscramble. So based on what I've just said, Max, and I think it's healthy we debate this.
So do I.
Look, personally right now, I don't think Māoridom in general can afford a change in government. They want another 3 years with this government. They want the genie out of the bottle. They want to get some traction, rubber hit the road.
Oh, totally agree with you. They will vote for Labour.
So they are better off with the devil they know
Absolutely.
than the devil they don't right now. So let's, just understand that's that side of the table, and it shouldn't be like, you and us. And so I think that the reality is, from that perspective, how do we get politics to a point where, how do we make this work? It's not about blue team, red team, and people causing division, because that's we're swallowing that bait. We really shouldn't take that bait.
Look, just cleaning up on one issue, some Maori will be like swallowing a rat when they have to tick the Labour box because they're not happy with what Labour have done either. But it is the best for them to actually tick that box. Now, for the population like myself who don't agree with this, co-ownership basis, I think it's better for us to go and pick a team who's going to be saying no to that.
Yeah.
And reversing what Labour has done is going to cause difficulties. If I'm sitting in a Maori fence right now and I saw that National were pulling out that legislation, which I doubt they've got the guts to do.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw that, I'd be absolutely pissed.
Yeah.
And I would think that we're going to have some civil unrest over it.
Yeah, and I think to give credit, whilst I would never vote for the ACT Party, man, they are going to hold National to account on some of these issues. So it's going to be really interesting, and that's what I mean about the pendulum swinging back in the other direction. Now,
let's just talk about that, because I'm not sure people realise that. Because what ACT's saying, hey, if National needs our vote, it's going to be on the condition they get rid of that legislation.
Yep.
And that's 3 Waters ownership and those other factors.
Yeah.
And by God, you're right, that's going to cause the problem.
Yep.
And that's why the Maori people don't particularly like ACT right now, including yourself.
Oh, well, I think that I've got to look at the thing in terms of societally, do I want this division? And, is ACT there to divide? No, they're standing for their constituents, their voter base, which is about 11, 12%.
But go back to your question. What is it they should do to try and get a united nation moving forward? And that's not going to be easy, Vaughan. Maybe we need this debate.
Well, I think the problem that ACT would have right now with Maori people, and this is why it makes it easy for the likes of the Maori Party to do what they do, it's that stubborn my way or the highway in terms of the policy. What we need to talk about is there's got to be some meeting of the minds. Can we get to the table? Right now, you will never get Maori Party and ACT to the same table. So we know that, the left is probably being consolidated because of ACT. And look, the reality is, and this is something that is a problem for National, ACT's popularity has gone up. National's popularity has plateaued, which means that people are looking at ACT, I'm talking the voter base that have had a gutsful of what's happened these last 6 years. They are seeing ACT as, like you say, prepared to have the balls to make the change.
And in terms of a political strategy, it's in their favour to do that, because they'll be stealing off some of the National voters on that basis.
Yeah.
The population, Vaughan, the way I read it, is the majority of population are not in favour of this co-ownership.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't think they are. And that's where ACT's going to actually do well out of it. And National, well, on the basis of this. But, you and I look broader and further into this. What's going to happen to our little nation if we get this division? And you started off by saying this whole election will be on a division.
It is division.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, it worries me in terms of where does this take us in the future. And I think that whilst we could put up on the whiteboard 3 Waters, hey, poor co-governance, and they scare the shit out of some people in the country, it really comes down to...
Some be me, yeah.
It comes down to Māori will look at it and go, well, obviously there's no interest to make some form of progress from where we have come from. So it's kind of this us and them.
Well, let me ask you a question. For 100 years or so, Maori have sat back and been secondary.
Yeah.
And clearly their status is picked up and they're getting treated better. Now Labor's gone a step further and saying, come and hold our hands and run this country with us.
Yep.
They've had a taste in the Maori world of us of the cream. And again, kind of rip that saucer out from under their chin is going to be tough, I must admit. Yeah. But will they go to sleep again?
Well, I think that's a really good point, Max. And this is not actually a domestic thing. It's going on globally. And in terms of ACT and their position, just be careful what you wish for, because the young coming through in Māoridom are highly educated, almost militant, and far more likely to be outspoken compared to
and take your point.
Previous generations.
Look at the Aborigines in Australia. Look at the Red Indians in America. They are those indigenous people are actually getting more and more vocal about their issues.
Yeah, and so if we look at the next generation coming through, and we look at the young Māori in general, in terms of have the opportunity to get better education, therefore got stronger views about their identity and what they stand for, mate, they'll eat those bullies in King's College for breakfast. And I shit you not, I mean that.
We're going to have more bullies?
No, there won't be bullies. We'll be just levelling the table.
Oh, it depends where you're sitting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it depends. That's exactly right. It depends on what seat you are in. Isn't that the key thing about when you come to the table? It's about, and this is what...
It's perspective, isn't it?
It is perspective, and that willingness to take that perspective.
Yeah.
And this is where at the moment it's kind of like what's mine and what's yours, unhealthy.
So I think what Vaughan and I are saying, there'll be some strategies used here to get people into power, but the big question is what's good for our nation, and that's what Vaughan and I are focusing on. And we see potential problems emerging here.
Yeah, that's right, Max. And what you've actually just touched on there, it takes the responsibility. We are responsible, you and I, as role models for our children, you know, your daughter, my sons, and out there in the wider, to take a leadership position to try to understand, you know, what's that saying? You know, seek first to understand before you are understood.
Yep.
You don't hear that coming out of Wellington, right? It's like, you know, it's kids in a sandbox. And we just got to transcend beyond that and find a way. So it's probably a little bit of give and take, and don't fear, you know, progress.
Well, Vaughan, you know, this discussion's been very interesting, and hopefully we have some more, because the good thing, our friendship can handle it. But the other factor is, this news was actually shadowed by Leo Malloy pulling out of the marital race, which we did the video on just recently.
Yeah, so what a crazy week, starting off with Sam Uffindale, bullying in both parties, and then, man, Leo, actually, you know, not to be outdone. You know, the good thing about Leo is he was an excitement machine in the mayoral campaign, and he's gone out with a bang.
And do you know what? In the last 2 weeks preceding this week, there's been no politics. It's been boring as shit.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's just gone wild.
Yeah. So, you know, hey, great Aotearoa Max, and really look forward to doing this again next week with a wrap up of the week.
Done.
Okay, thanks,
Talk
bro.
to them. Bye.